Cibus Link showcases the excellence of Italian food production to international industry operators.
We love our coffee, right? Who doesn't?
It's the best.
But it feels like everyone's going for those single-serve capsules these days.
Yeah, super convenient.
But are they really, though? I mean, for the planet.
Right, sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the big question these days.
So today we're doing a deep dive on sustainable coffee, and we've got Luca Solari,
Oh, wow.
CEO of Covine, a huge coffee supplier.
Okay, I've heard of them, yeah.
To give us a little look behind the scenes, you know.
Definitely, that inside scoop.
Okay, so Luca had some really interesting things to say about those recyclable capsules we see everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it turns out that label can be really misleading.
How so?
Well, Covine, they've been pushing for compostable capsules,
Interesting.
which is a way bolder move in my book.
It definitely is. I mean, recycling seems like the easy answer, but a lot of those plastic capsules just end up in landfills anyway.
It's kind of like when they slap a healthy label on a bag of chips and call it a day.
Exactly. It's greenwashing for sure.
But why wouldn't they just make them compostable then?
It comes down to cost, usually, and the whole production process. Compostable materials often mean using plant-based polymers instead of regular plastics.
Which is more expensive.
Yeah, often significantly more.
So it's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for sure.
Companies want to look good, but they also don't want to, like, rock the boat too much.
Exactly. They're afraid to change their production lines or raise prices.
And then the environment loses out.
Yeah, that's the sad truth. Makes you think, like, can consumers even change things? Or do we need stricter rules?
That's the question, isn't it? Speaking of which, Luca also brought up this whole thing about how retailers approach sustainable coffee.
Oh, interesting.
That's a wild ride, apparently. He mentioned this one time, a big European supermarket was about to stock only Covine's compostable capsules.
Wow, really? That's huge.
Which I know, right?
So what happened?
Well, then another big chain, a competitor, they didn't do the same.
Ah, so they got scared.
Totally. Worried about losing customers if their prices were higher or there were fewer choices.
Yeah, that makes sense in a way. It's all about the bottom line, right?
It seems like it. Everyone's waiting for someone else to make the first move.
It's a stalemate.
Right. But here's the kicker. Luca said the cost difference between the regular and compostable capsules might not be that big.
Really?
Yeah, like sometimes it's just a few cents per capsule.
Wow, so why aren't more companies switching then? Like, is there something else going on?
That's what I was wondering.
Maybe it's their factories or something?
Yeah, maybe they can't handle the compostable stuff or it's harder to get those materials.
Or maybe they're just stuck in their ways.
That's probably part of it too.
Resistant to change.
Exactly. But let's go back to that consumer confusion thing for a second, because it feels important. It's like they're going against the flow, you know?
Totally. It takes guts.
Big time.
Yeah.
But it also shows you how important it is for people to really know what they're buying.
For sure. Because that recyclable label can be so misleading.
You think you're doing the right thing, tossing it in the recycling bin.
Right.
And then it ends up in a landfill anyway.
Sadly. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Ugh. Talk about a reality check. Have you ever felt that way? Like, tricked.
Definitely. The recycling system, especially for these capsules, it's just not that straightforward.
It's a mess.
Even if people want to recycle them, it doesn't mean it'll actually happen.
So again, we're back to that gap between what we think is happening and what's really going on.
Totally. And that's what I think is so interesting about all of this. Like, what if instead of just feeling bad about it, we actually did something?
You mean like turning our coffee habit into something good?
Exactly. We have the power to change things just by what we choose to buy.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Companies pay attention to that. If enough people demand sustainable options, things will have to change.
So you're saying our morning coffee could actually help make a difference?
Exactly. Imagine that sipping your coffee and knowing you're supporting a more sustainable world.
Okay, that's a pretty inspiring thought.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make that happen? Like, it feels kind of overwhelming.
I get it. But it doesn't have to be complicated.
Really?
Start small. Look for brands that are upfront about where their coffee comes from and how they make it.
So like fair trade and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they trying to be eco-friendly? Check their websites or social media, see what they're all about.
Right. Because companies are realizing they have to be transparent now, right?
Oh, totally. People demand it. And when they see a company that's actually trying to do the right thing, they're more likely to support them.
A win-win.
For sure.
Yeah.
So beyond just picking the right brand, what else can people do?
Yeah. Good question. Any other ideas?
Well, think about how much coffee you're actually drinking. Could you maybe cut back a little? Or try other ways of making it sometimes?
It all adds up, right?
Exactly. It's about being mindful. Finding that balance between enjoying your coffee and thinking about the planet.
Totally. It's all about making smarter choices, right?
Exactly. And it can feel overwhelming sometimes, like how do you even know where to start?
Right. There are so many different brands and labels and claims.
It's true. But honestly, just start by keeping it simple. Look for brands that are really clear about where they get their beans and how they make their coffee.
So, like, what should we actually be looking for?
Well, do they talk about fair trade? Are they doing anything to be better for the environment? Don't be afraid to do a little research.
Yeah, good point. Most companies have websites or something, right?
Exactly. Or social media. See what they're all about, and if you can't find what you're looking for, just ask them.
Oh, that's a good idea. Just reach out to them.
Totally. See if they'll tell you about their compostable capsules or their recycling program or how they support farmers.
I bet they'd be happy to talk about it.
Yeah, companies are starting to realize that people really care about this stuff. They have to be more open.
Makes sense. So we get to feel better about our coffee, and it pushes companies to do better.
Exactly. Everyone wins. But it's not just about the brands we buy, right? We can all do more.
Like what?
Well, maybe try cutting back a little on how much coffee you drink, or even just try different ways of making it sometimes.
Switch it up a bit.
Exactly. Every little thing makes a difference.
It's all about finding that balance, I guess.
Right, between enjoying your coffee and being aware of the impact it has.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into sustainable coffee, let's leave our listeners with one last thought. What if our morning coffee wasn't just a guilty pleasure? What if it was actually a way to make the world a better place? One cup at a time. This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep making those conscious choices.